Welcome back to Automation Airwaves. I'm your host, Scott Teeple, and we're continuing our series on intelligent automation and integrated and the definitions of. If you missed it last episode, we discussed the definition of it, and we're now getting ready to continue the panel discussion on technology and what makes up an integrated automation system.
But let's talk a little bit about technology for a second. As I talked about some tools that are kind of being out there that are kind of laying the landscape of what are some really great things in the turn of the technology that we're seeing in this space that's helping us get to more of a complete intelligent automation space?
I think the reason why the term integrated is being thrown out there so much is because there's so many partnerships forming. Strategic partnerships, people buying other companies and bringing them in. So now you don't have just RPA by itself. RPA is now saying we can go out and do a cloud NLP or OCR. We can have a partnership that does have a machine learning component that you send something out to a machine learning interface and you can bring it back and consume it. So that the term integrated is being thrown out because there is some level of integration being done. And that's the evolution. We're not just sole independent little tools that are living by themselves anymore. They are growing and maturing and realizing that there's a trajectory that needs to be aimed at.
Yeah, and for me, that I'm even taking it a little bit deeper. We talk about integrated technology or integrated automation. Something that there was a paper back in the '60s by Howard Levitt, I believe, that talked about the overlap between people, processes, and technology, and the inherent need for those to overlap. When we talk about our automation solutions within Agilify, we identify the three components: people, the actual hands-on, the task space, the actual processes, and then the technology. So, I think from an industry standpoint, I agree with you. But I would just suggest that there's also more to integrated automation than just the technology solutions out there. And it certainly makes sense from the definition standpoint from where you're going. And I think that's where the confusion is in the industry when we think about that. And that's the first thing I thought. It was like, that sounds like a term that's been around for quite a while. What were the components then? And it seems like it applies to how Agilify is tackling that the solutions that we provide to our clients. So I'm just interjecting that as we continue on in our discussion here, that we don't focus just on the technology.
It is extremely interesting when you look at the technology side of things and you look at the orchestration or the BPMs, right? This core requirement around workflow. And how do I generally process? And how do I get things into it? And how do I control how things are really moving through it, right? Then you get that integration out to where hands-on keyboard, where I'm actually doing things on the physical side of things, whether it's an API or it's through screen scraping or whatever we call, the RPA space. And then you've got the vision side of it, where now I can start doing some really great things with smart OCR, with image recognition. But then as I get some of that data and I'm starting able to apply some of my knowledge and ML, I'm starting to now get into a predictive state where now I'm starting to pass things through that orchestration engine. And again, back to your point, well, that's awesome when we're just looking at it from a technology perspective. Things are really starting to get fun. But where do we come into when we start looking at, okay, that's the technology piece, but now we've got the process piece and what really is going on, and then the human side, that's this people, which is a phenomenal place. And I think the value that we really are getting, or what we're seeing when we're delivering intelligent automation, is in the inherent change and how users are interacting with this new system, right? You could make arguments, or I can make arguments, that isn't that just really a unified desktop? Right? Am I really just replacing systems of record and creating a whole new way of doing the work? But I'm really, creating a new user interface. You say, well, I don't think so, because at the end of the day, we're leaving the systems of record. We're leaving them all in place, right? This isn't a rip and replace. It's not a 3-year, $40 million project to redo these things like it used to be back in the day. If I now am leaving things alone and I'm really just looking at the role, and how do I continue to process things in a different way, leaving all the systems where they're supposed to be, right? Because it's too costly to make those changes. And I start layering some of this new technology to assist while things really get powerful.